Ho, ho, ho. No, more jollier. Ho, ho, ho. Oh, oh. All right, you caught me. I admit it, I'm a Santa wannabe. I just can't resist the thought of flying over the clouds with a sleigh full of toys, visiting every house, handing out presents, making children smile, fulfilling dreams. Who wouldn't want to be a Santa wannabe? In fact, why wouldn't you want to be a Santa wannabe? Maybe the world would be in a better place if all of us were a Santa wannabe. Just a thought. The House of Wooden Santas by Kevin Major. "6 days to Christmas. Jonathan tried to be funny outside Mrs. Wenzel's house, calling it Stage Tree because of the fir tree that stood in Mrs. Wenzel's front yard, but he wasn't laughing much. Jesse was especially serious because he had just spent all of his money, the money he had been saving to buy a Christmas present for his mother, on lights for that very tree, with no guarantee would make any difference to Mrs. Wenzel's Christmas spirit. Christmas tree, Jonathan had said the day in school when they were trying to figure out what they would do next. She definitely needs a Christmas tree. The plan was to go to her house, hide and until it got dark, and then do a quick decorating job on the fir tree. Lights, Jonathan had said, definitely lights. After the mess up with the telephone, we got to do something that they'll never forget. Still, Jesse stood a long time in the store in front of the Christmas decorations, fingering the money in his pocket. Even though the set of lights was on sale, even though Jonathan stood next to him and said, "But if it works, it'll be the best Christmas ever for your mother." If. Big if. He reluctantly pulled the money from his pocket, and now they found themselves in their old spot, in the trees near Mrs. Wenzel's, peering through the branches at her house. Jonathan with a string of lights in his hand, and Jesse with an extension cord in his. They had borrowed the cord from Jonathan's basement. All her curtains were closed. "Now it's pretty dark," Jonathan whispered. "She'll never recognize us, even if the front door flies open and she pops out on the front step." They rose up like a pair of gnomes, inching their way across the front yard. At the tree, they stretched out the string of lights. They looked up at the top branch. Neither of them could reach that high. They looked at each other. There could be no argument about who was heavier and had the broader back. Jonathan sank to the snow. Jesse put one foot on his back, then gingerly brought the other up from the ground to meet it. Then with a wobbling stretch, Jesse hooked the end of the string over the top branch before tumbling back to the ground. He jumped up, grabbed the string of lights. Around and around the tree he went until he ran out of lights. The bottom half of the tree was still bare. "I knew we needed another set," said Jonathan. "Yeah, right, forget it." Jesse took one end of the extension cord and pushed the plug from the lights into it. He handed Jonathan the other end. "Go for it," he said, pointing to the electric outfit on the side of the house, next to the front door. "I'll wait for you in the trees." "Why me?" But Jesse had already scrambled off. From the hiding spot, he could see Jonathan desperately trying to get the plug in the socket. The lights blinked once, then again, and finally lit up the tree, the top half of it, red and green and gold and white and blue, wonderful beacons of Christmas color. "What do you think?" Jonathan said out of breath as he scampered into the hiding spot. Think this will do it? Jonathan had an answer to his question soon enough. Mrs. Wenzel, in her great fur coat and slippers, opened the front door and stood there, stiff as a statue. In shock, maybe. She let out a great grumble. What now? Jessie and Jonathan stared at each other in disbelief. And what do you think the police will have to say about this? She yelled, as if she knew someone was out there. Tell me, what? She stood rigid like a glowing winter witch, scanning the front yard and surrounding trees. I dare you to show your face. Their faces plunged instantly into the snow and stayed there. Jessie's cheeks were stinging with the cold and burning and freezing until he could hardly stand another second of it. He heard the door close. He hauled up his head. He clawed the snow off his face and out of his eyes, just in time to see Jonathan scampering and shaking his own snowman head. I'm out of here. Jonathan spit out with a spray of snow. He scurried backward like a mole in reverse. Wait! Come on! What about the lights? The extension cord? The cops could trace them. It stopped Jonathan dead in his tracks. You got to get the extension cord, he declared. I plugged it in. Jessie groaned at the thought of it. He gazed across the front yard and spied the outlet of the yellow cord coiling over the snow like a cowardly snake. He bit his teeth hard against each other. He drew in a chestful of air between them. Go for it, Jonathan barked under his breath. I'll get the lights. Jessie sprang from the snow. He ran as hard as he could across the driveway, across the front yard, his eyes fixed all the time on the electrical outlet and its snake of a cord. He was almost there when the front door opened. Jessie hit the snow. Out scampered Ivan the terrier. The front door closed again. Jessie did not budge. He lay there as stiff as a lawn ornament. He heard the flutter of Ivan's short legs over the snow towards him. He felt the poke of Ivan's nose against his head. He opened one eye and looked up, straight into Ivan's underbelly. Ivan's hind leg started to rise. Ugh, gross! Jessie flung himself to his feet. He grabbed the extension cord from the snow and gave it an almighty yank. It snapped free from the outlet. It recoiled, whizzed past Ivan's head. The dog went berserk. It made for Jessie, yipping, 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 and yapping like crazy. Jessie made for the tree. There was Jonathan, the string of lights free from the branches, except for the end of it, hooked over the very top. Jessie did not stop. He grabbed the lights from Jonathan with his other hand and kept on running. The top of the tree bent down behind him. The string of lights pulled tighter and tighter and then snapped free. Off the boys went like mad. Through the snow, down the driveway, onto the main road, the extension cord and the string of lights trailing behind them. Ivan the terrier in pursuit, sculling as fast as his stumpy legs could carry him, his barking worse than a police siren. Finally, the dog ran out of steam. He stood and yelped at the boys, raced away in the distance. Jessie glanced over his shoulder. Ivan was trotting leisurely back up the driveway. His owner was calling. Did you do your business? Did you do your business? All the evening, the echo of Mrs. Wenzel's voice ran in Jessie's ears. That and his mother's angry words for staying out after dark without anyone knowing where he or Jonathan had gone. More of that secret project, I suppose. Jessie would not tell exactly what they had been doing. He thought his explanation of buying a surprise present at the convenience store should be enough to satisfy her. It wasn't. She even put Santa on her side. She sat him on the kitchen table as Jessie was eating his bedtime snack. In the house of wooden Santa, she began, anger still in her voice. That's not very nice. You're supposed to be mad at me, not him. In the house of wooden Santas, she repeated. A little too sweet, Jessie thought, but he figured it was best if he didn't say anything. There's a Santa who's not pleased with children who do not tell the whole story. But Santa knows the whole story, Jessie said. He's part of it. Part of what? That's a secret. See? Santa's not telling either. Not telling what? Secret Santa doesn't like tricks. Jesse grinned broadly at his mother, then looked at the figure again. Do you, Secret Santa? Jesse waited as his mother rolled her eyes. See, said Jesse. He's not saying a word. Until we see you again.